Adesoji Abifari, welcome to Food Journey.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine.
And mine. I'm so excited today because this is part 2 of the Bizarre Foods episode that we called Wild Things.
Wow.
And the last time I saw you was at the event, and you had your hands deep into some very strange meat. I saw you with a crocodile, a snake, some bush meat,
Monitor lizard.
And I also tried a lot of this stuff too. But today we're going to be doing some cooking in the kitchen, and I'm very excited about that as well.
The Croc Doc is an expert in the anatomy, trapping and cooking of some very wild game. This hobby turned into a career, and he amazed us with his handling of some very scary things last week.
So you're known as the Croc Doc.
Yeah.
How did you get that name?
Well, I got that name from my clients, and basically because I'm the only one that can handle such animals, and handling them is my savior, attending to their needs. So the name the Croc Doc came through that angle.
I think it's really a cool name. And then for your background training to do this sort of thing, do you have a sort of science background at all?
Yeah, I did sciences in school. In my university days, I did environmental biological sciences, and I know a few bits of anatomy. So I picked up the animal, I got the animal instinct from my studies in school.
For instance, you had a huge crocodile, you had a massive python, you had monitor lizards. Now these things don't walk around the street. So obviously they're deep in the bush somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you get yourself involved in the actual hunting of these animals? Or does somebody go and, do you have people who hunt for them and bring them to you?
Well, basically, for different animals, there are different things to it. Like the snakes, I have hunters that know how to follow the trails. They have trails in the bush and to capture them. For the crocodiles, I have somebody, and equally, I have my own small farm, because periodically there's seasons that these animals, you can't get them. So I put them in storage, but most of the time they come alive.
The type of animals the Croc Doc is speaking about are king python, some much longer than myself, and crocodile, as well as cane rat. There's antelope too. These animals are masters of their own environment, and not to be caught if you aren't a trained hunter.
That's very interesting. Now, have you ever been out on expedition with hunting?
Well, there are days that maybe they'll just tell you they're still in the bush, and based on the fact that I'm in a hurry to get supply, I'll ask them for their coordinates or something. I go in the bush to meet up with them, or for some of the animals that might be in the trap or still caught in the trap, I might be there to watch them, get them off the trap or stuff like that.
Oh my goodness. Now, a lot of people would say that, why are we eating these wild animals? For instance, are there any issues to do with how prevalent these animals still are on the earth? Are some of these animals going extinct that you're trapping?
Well, basically, I think I'm both worlds. I'm of both worlds, let's say. I'm learned enough to know animals that are going extinct. I'm learned enough to still be able to discern on what to eat and what not to eat. And basically, when you look at all these things, I'm bridging the gap. All these animals that we tend to stay away from, they are the animals that still have natural essence, let's say essence, or the natural nutrients that the body needs. So please, we need to eat them. The population is out there, so we can eat.
What you're saying is very interesting, because when you're talking about the natural elements are still in them, when you think about chickens and cultivated animals like that, there's so much chemicals and things that are put in them. So what you're making is actually quite a valid point. I tend to think that some of the people who came to the Bizarre Foods day might have shunned away from trying anything at all. What kind of reviews did you get from people?
Well, basically that day I was more like the anchor of the bizarre thing, and a whole lot of it, like it's more like a church. I was able to win new converts, and the truth of the matter is, for everybody that day, they had this feeling that, oh, this is queer, I've not tasted this before, this is bizarre. But the only thing is, when you when somebody sees you, the way you're handling a meat and the way you pamper, you tender the meat and you eat it, the presentation, everybody would tend to want to have a muscle or a taste. So a whole lot of people, from a taste, I was able to get them into getting platters. And from the platters, I believe I've won them over. So everybody on that day, they've been able to say, oh, I've conquered my fear of snake. I've conquered my fear of croc meat. I've conquered my fear of monitor lizard. I'm now a certified croc eater. I'm now a certified snake eater. I'm now a certified preserved food disciple.
I love the way you say certified. I think I deserved a certificate for
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
things
because
I tried.
Yeah, I got you on the snake also.
You got me. I tried snake. I think the worst, snake is like chicken, okay? Chickeny fish.
Yeah.
Crocodile is definitely like chicken, that white
meat, the white meat
because I know
part.
there's white and dark.
Yeah.
The cow's balls, no. That was an experience I don't wish to repeat.
Well, for the cow balls, we did it in two ways. One, you can eat it almost raw. And when you took it, it was almost raw. It was still running. We still had the juice.
Both were bad, everyone. Don't let it convince you.
We still had the juice running. And much later, when I had to splice it open in a sea animal kind of shape, and that way it was more like the crunchy part of it. But for most people, it depends on how you want it. You can have it a bit wet where you get all the juice and everything flowing, or if you want it dry and crunchy. Well, you got yours on the wet note, and
I did, and
it went down well.
It went down. Luckily, it didn't come
in
back
a bizarre way.
In a very bizarre way, darling. Very bizarre. So I want to ask you the next question, which is, of all the animals that you've ever had to trap, what's been the most dangerous one?
In all, I would say the wild cat.
The wild cat?
Yes, because when we caught it, we thought it was dead, you understand? And we were driving home with our kill, and the next thing, the cat just sprung into life, and it was at the back of the car. And we were driving. So knowing fully well that this is a dangerous cat in the car, and every other thing, you just had to manage all the whole crisis, have the car packed, lock the doors, then did a reorientation on how to subdue the cat. So we had to go get a big cloth that we used to cover the cat. So covering the cat right now made the cat lose orientation. So from there we were able to subdue the cat and put it back to the resting mode.
I kind of feel sorry for the cat, but I'm glad you got out unscathed.
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
sure.
Well done. So today we are going to work with some grass cutter or cane rat.
Cane rat. Mm-hmm.
Now the cane rat is a huge animal. It's actually a lot bigger than you think.
Yeah.
We have one in the kitchen today that is fresh. And what I want to do is an old recipe that was taught to me by my late husband, which is cane rat in red wine, which is very unusual for the way we normally eat cane rat. Normally we have our cane rat dried and smoked. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about that process and how that's really done?
Well, the thing for most, I'll say wild animals is when you smoke them, it adds to the flavor.
Exactly.
It makes the flavor to lock into the meat. If you cook them raw like that, you understand, a whole lot of essence gets to flow away with the sauce or gets to flow away with the juice. But by the time you lock that essence or the nutrients into the meat via smoking. So by the time you are eating it, you have this sensation. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something wild, it's something tangy, it's something fresh when you eat it smoked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it enhances the meat.
It enhances the meat.
Now the first time this recipe was made for me, the meat was put into a wet brine. Okay. And that changed the nature of the flesh. Yeah. It became almost like a ham. In a way,
dark.
And a little dark. And then that was now seared off and cooked with root vegetables and red wine poured on. Today, I'd like to try your method of quick drying the meat. Yeah. We're going to show everybody how that's done so that you wouldn't have to go through a whole 3 days of brining. You could do something now and serve it in a couple of hours for your guests. So maybe we should get ourselves into the kitchen and get started with that. How about that?
Let's hit
It's
the
a
kitchen.
deal?
Deal.
All right.
Let's hit the kitchen.
See you there.
So here we are, the set of food journey, wild things in the kitchen. And the 3 wild things we have in the kitchen here are myself, Soji, my ace cameraman, and the Croc Doc in the back.
That's it.
Okay, the 4th wild thing is of course the grass cutter or the cane rat. Wait till you see what we make.
Be right back.
Yeah, stay tuned. Time to prepare our wild recipe of the day. Cane rat in red wine, a casserole.
Okay, so Croc Doc, here we are in the kitchen, and I am super excited to see what's going to happen to this huge cane rat that I have acquired. We're only using a little bit of it today because Sonia is going to put it into her pot to make, I hear, the best thing, egusi, with it.
Sure.
Is that true?
Egusi
Why
with
is egusi the best thing to make with this?
Well, maybe based on me, but egusi is one of the best because it has this oil essence and the egusi granules. Everything will permeate in the meat and in the bones and all that. So when you're eating it, it's another experience totally.
Ah, that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. So let's move this over a bit.
Yeah.
Now, how do I know that this is a cane rat and not maybe just a big rat?
Okay, well, if you call it cane rat, a whole lot of people might still not understand. They might think this is grass cutter.
Right.
And for grass cutter, one of the things, the details you need to look for is the teeth.
The teeth.
You need, once you have this, whether big or small, and you have these incisors overlapping each other, that is a grass cutter.
This grass cutter is big and supplied fresh with the hair off. Before we started, the Croc Doc removed the innards and a little trimming was done.
We have so many animals in the same species group. You have a porcupine, you have weasel, you have different animals that have same body structure, but you cannot call them grass cutters. The only time you can call them grass cutter is when you see this teeth. A whole lot of them have same tail. Some of them have different skin texture, but for a grass cutter, the telltale sign that it's a grass cutter is the teeth.
I can see those teeth, and I'm sure they can do a lot of grass cutting.
Yeah.
That's why they're like that. Okay, so the inside of this.
Yeah.
And you've removed a lot of the guts and some of the fats.
Yes.
A little bit of fat. I noticed there wasn't a lot.
Sure.
And I'd like to use one of the haunches.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you go ahead and, with your very sharp knife, show us how it's done. Let me move this over.
But ideally, if we were to do everything, that's why I had this.
Yeah.
My skewers here.
Right.
Most places that you have grass cutters being displayed,
Right.
you have the skewer inserted from the hind quarters to the fore quarters.
Yes,
you have
you've got that like
you now have them spread eagle like that. So once they are spread eagle, the only reason why we do that is when you want to smoke, you want the heat and all the sauce, all the spice, everything to permeate everywhere. So, and once you have it spread open like that, if it's maybe you're air drying it or you want to oven dry it, you want to smoke dry it, it depends on whatever method you want to use. But once they're open like that, then the heat will go around. But if in a situation where you have it closed, that means you might just be working on one part and the other part is not getting good
So
heat.
ideally it should be splayed open.
Yeah, it
like
should be
this.
splayed open. We use these skewers to make sure that the way that it's spread like this, it
Optimum surface area
Yes,
for
it
what
stays
stays
in
in
place.
So we don't need these today.
we don't need this for today.
These canes, all right? So we'll move
Canes
those
for
over.
cane rats.
Canes for caning. We're going to get started.
So the first thing we do is we feel for where the bone is joining.
Right.
Then we come from here.
And we start cutting. So let's, should
Yeah.
we put this on the
Let's
cutting
put-
board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we turn him upside down, do you think?
No,
Or
I'll cut from
I'll get
this
rid of
way.
this?
Yes. I cut from this place.
Okay.
So how I hold like so.
Oh, look at
You
that.
feel?
There's a lot of flesh there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So right down the middle there,
Once you get to where you have the bone.
and then you go across. So this is great diet food, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
If you want to keep it healthy, look!
Easy.
So so beautiful.
No chopping, nothing. It comes off easily.
And we're leaving the skin on.
We're working with the skin on.
I think we need to tell everybody what we're about to do with this. We're going to prepare this for the wine casserole that we're doing with it. So how important is it for us to change the nature of the meat now, and how are we going to do that?
Okay, basically what we're going to do now is to find a way of getting a quick smoke method on this meat.
Right.
And the first thing we're going to do right now, because it's a quick smoke method, and for us to be able to work get fast, we need to put on our the spices that we want to use. Once we infuse the meat with the spices, then we'll do a quick parboiling.
Okay.
Once we do the quick parboiling, then we heat the oven for, say, about 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
Once we can get the dryness and the crispiness on the meat,
then we can
now start the
next process. Great. Okay, so now what I'd love to do is show the quick drying method, and then also put this into the oven.
Okay.
And do a drying method that doesn't require boiling first.
Yes, sure.
So I can actually take this back home, folks, and do what I want with it.
The egusi thing.
The egusi. So now you just take this and put it away somewhere.
To spice our grass cutter, we're using a spice blend containing all-purpose seasoning, ground red chili pepper, and the Croc Doc special paprika.
What is this?
This is my own form of paprika. Okay.
A sprinkle?
Yeah.
Into all the holes. Oh yeah, okay, come in tight and have a look at this. Let me get that in there so we can see how deep that was and where it's all going. Am I doing okay, Croc Doc?
Sure.
Right. Under the skin.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting a lovely shower, isn't it? Of spices.
Now the very red special paprika.
And we can see that all changing color now beautifully. Yeah. Wow. I guess there's so many things that you could do with a grass cutter that we need to explore. Like I can see that now, the way you splayed it open. I can see it actually maybe even stuffed with something.
We can stuff it with another class of meat, so you have a clash of taste. You know, most times when people want to stuff animals, they stuff it with the same thing, almost the same kind of animal. To me, I think it's not a good process.
Really?
You're supposed to have a bounce in taste, a bounce in texture, a bounce in meat structure. So if at all we're doing maybe game animal like this, and I want to stuff it with another meat, I'll go for something like
a chicken.
Chicken. I could go for something like sea-like. I might go for maybe sausages, something that sausages.
I like the idea of that.
Something that would, when you're eating it, you know, oh, there's another bite.
And this is something else.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Our nice and thoroughly seasoned haunch was ready for the pot. Just a little bit of water to steam it.
Is that enough water?
Yeah, sure.
So really steaming it. Okay, so let's switch that on. High or medium or low?
High.
High.
Yeah.
And then cover it. Boom. So let's go do the other big piece.
With the head splayed open, the spice seasoning begins.
Shall I help you this time?
Please do.
Okay. So
let's have the feminine touch.
The feminine touch. And a little on the mouth area. And is that enough to start working in? Yeah. Let's get that little flap there.
Let me check for where we have bigger chunks.
A bigger chunk to open and just fill in with the spices in that little hole there. And the same thing to the other side. I'm learning, this is so fun.
We carried on massaging with the spices, masculine and feminine touch, both sides, and you can see where the animal was shot by the pellet wounds. Sometimes these end up on your plate. Special paprika on as well. It was into the oven.
This is our steamed. Let me take this and put it to the side. Ouch. Come and have a look at this.
As you can see, this is well reduced now, and the meat is well done and texturized.
A little extra spice on our tray.
Okay, so we put that in.
Let's go. Let it hit the oven.
Hit the oven. And in you go. Bye.
See you
See ya.
in a bit.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started now prepping our veg for the rest of the recipe.
Okay.
Grass cutter in red wine.
We're pairing some rustic veggies to go with our cane rat today. It's going to be some sweetness coming from pearl onions. These are small but potent. We're also using carrots. Don't cut them in strips, keep them chunky. This leek is slightly oniony and needs to be rinsed first to remove any grit or soil. Let's add some spuds too, and a little parsley. Now everything is prepped. Beautiful. These veggies are getting a head start in the pan, one by one. Caramelizing the onions, and then adding the other more hearty items, and giving it a toss.
You do that. Wow. I want to taste this. Okay, here we go.
It's heaven.
You have to try this. Wait. There you go. Open up. So delicious. We've done it. We
Shot of
cracked it.
what?
We cracked it. Some peppercorns, some parsley. Okay, the last thing we need right now is the red wine. And we're literally gonna use half of the bottle of wine, okay? And I'm just splodging that in. All we do now is we just top that up with a little bit of water and then stick it in the oven. So I'll get some water. So everybody, here we are. We've got the full meal. We've got some beautiful couscous here. And of course, the pièce de résistance, the cane rat in red wine. What I love about this is it is just a thick, unctuous mouthful of deliciousness.
You
The
took a
couscous-
taste. I took a swallow.
Oh, you took a swallow. No, I'm chewing
And I
this.
took a swallow of almost all the good parts of what we have. I think I need to lose my table manners now.
I need to use my hands.
I want to lose my table manners.
Okay. These are African table manners, which means I can pick it up and chew. A nice big piece of the grass cutter. Are we ready?
Wow.
Wow. On that note, we have to bid you farewell. As you can see, we have quite a lot to consume. So shall we say goodbye from Food Journey?
Bye-bye.
See you next time. Let's eat.